I'm Jay Blair, a kind of worker, online and in person, and I've slept with probably tens of thousands of people's husbands. I don't feel guilty about it. When I first started seeing men for money, I did feel a little bit guilty because the vast majority of my clients aren't married, and that's true for most spicy workers. I was working in a legal establishment at the time that I saw these two clients that I will never forget. I don't know why these clients are coming to see me, and right or wrong, sometimes I can at least empathize with why they're cheating on their wives. I was in an establishment. This older gentleman picked me. He was wearing a suit. He gave me a tip. He was so sweet. Throughout our fun activities together, he was very just sensual. Lots of kissing and touching and cuddling. He wanted to hold hands, and I think this was the first client that I'd ever actually held hands with while we were getting down. Once we kind of finished up and he jumped in the shower to leave, he came out. He just came and gave me the biggest bear hug. And he said, "Do you know why I'm coming to see you today?" And I said, "No, it's okay. You don't really need to tell me." He said, "My wife, who I've been married to for 40 years, this was a much older gentleman, has a condition where basically she now needs a carer for everything. She needs someone to feed her, to dress her, to bathe her, to help her go to the bathroom. She's like non-verbal. Basically, she can just move her eyes." He has been that full-time carer for 5 or 6 years now. On top of that, he has 3 kids, one of whom, his youngest, had a very, very extreme disability, which was basically the same, needed full-time care, someone to wash him, bathe him, help him eat. And for a very long time, he looked after his son, who for like 20-30 years, and is now in a home. His other children also had kids by this point, and one of their kids had the exact same condition as his youngest son. So not only was he a carer to his youngest kid, still, even though the child is in a home, he was talking about how often, he still does a lot of care duties for the child and is very much a big participant in that child's life. He is the full-time carer for his wife and also very heavily involved with his disabled grandchild's life. This man is looking after 3 people and has been for basically his entire adult life. There is now no one to take care of him. And he just said, "I just want someone to hold me. I just want to feel close to another human being. I want to feel loved. I want to feel wanted. I want to feel like I can give someone pleasure and intimacy and make them feel valued." Now, of course, all of the actions that he did for his carees, I assume, would have these connotations, but obviously it was in a much more clinical setting with, although a lot of emotion was involved, you would have to detach yourself a little bit to go through what that man must go through every day. He just went on and on about how much he loves his wife, he'd die for his wife, how he adores her and would do anything, is doing everything for her. But he really just needed an hour where someone was just focusing on him and making him feel good and loved and needed and wanted and attractive, making him feel like a man. Do you know what? 2 wrongs don't make a right. It wasn't necessarily right for him to cheat on his wife, but I think unless you've ever been in someone's shoes like that, it'd be really hard to judge a person for doing what they need to do to cope, to then turn around and give everything they have to the 3 people, well, some of the 3 people that they love most in the world. There was no doubt in my mind that this man truly, deeply loved and cared for his wife. And I kept thinking, if I was in that situation, if I was the wife, I think I'd want my partner to go do whatever they needed to feel happy, to feel comfortable, to feel loved, to feel a human connection, intimacy. I really can't judge him for that. Second time was also in an establishment This man came in and he was very shy. He was a little bit younger, late 20s, and he just kept checking in, is this okay? Or I'm a bit embarrassed. He was just so shy and nervous about everything he did, and we kind of had our fun bit. He just wanted to kind of lay there and chat and cuddle. He seemed really adamant on telling me why he was there. And he said, look, I have a wife. He was telling me all these stories about how he loved his wife and really cared for her, but they really weren't getting on at that moment. His wife would wake him up screaming in his face, how his wife would key his car, destroy his TV. His wife would throw things at him, including kitchen knives. His wife would throw hot liquids at him and hit him, would call him names, would cut him off financially from their joint accounts as much as she could. How she wouldn't let him go anywhere near his family or his friends. And I sat there and I listened to this, and he said, am I a bad person for coming here and cheating on her? And I said, look, have you ever considered that your wife is abusing you? He said, no, of course she's not. You know, we have heated arguments, but she's not abusing me. And I said, well, if you did any of these things to her, what do you think people would think that you were doing to her? And he was like, well, that's abuse. I can't hit her. I'd never hit her back. And I said, but she's doing it to you. You could kind of just slowly see the wheels turning in his head and the realization dawning on him that he was in a very violent, abusive, and unsafe situation. And again, two wrongs don't make a right. I've never been in a domestic violence situation, and you know what? From the outside, I can really empathize with someone needing time to themselves, needing to find a little bit of courage, a little bit of intimacy, someone to listen to them, to have the courage to leave or do whatever they need to do to feel safer in that situation. For men, it's quite common for them to feel a lot more comfortable speaking with women than they do other men, because society, men aren't allowed to talk about their feelings, particularly with other men. A lot of men in particular feel very comfortable talking about their feelings once they've gotten down and dirty with someone. I don't fully understand that. That's a thing for a psychologist, but it's definitely someone I've recognized. I really couldn't fault this man for coming to see me and having a little bit of time to himself. I hear you saying, well, Jade, you've been working and seeing men for 6 years now. That is only 2 examples. Yeah, you're right. Most men that come and see me aren't in that kind of situation. But the reality is, I don't know. I don't know until the deed's been done. And sometimes the guys won't even tell me the situation or why they're coming to see me in the first place. Ultimately, it's not my responsibility. That's the other big reason. I felt guilty about this for a really long time until I realized I cannot control, nor am I ever responsible for another person's actions. For some reason, we tend to blame women for men's actions all the time. You see this a lot in victim blaming and rape culture. Also, when men cheat, oh, well, the woman should have put out more. Why was the wife not, giving her husband what he wanted? Oh, well, it's the other woman's fault. We don't tend to blame the man, and we don't do this in other situations. My very first job was at a bakery. We had this one guy come in. He was a taxi driver first thing in the morning, and he always came in and he would order about 3,000 calories and eat it in front of us before he left. That was just his breakfast. This man was very, very morbidly obese, and because he came in so often, we learnt a lot about him. We learnt that he was the full-time carer for his wife and was also the only breadwinner of their family of 5. He was a taxi driver, and his wife was becoming increasingly concerned with his weight because it was seriously affecting his health. But when he died of a heart attack, no one came and blamed me. Why did you let him lie to his wife? Why did you let him break a promise that he made to his wife? He knew it wasn't my responsibility. He was an adult man in control of his own actions, and he chose to break that promise to his wife. The same applies here. I am not grabbing men off the street and putting a gun to their head and forcing them to be intimate with me. In fact, they actually have to jump through a hell of a lot of hoops to be intimate with me. First of all, they have to find me. So usually that means that they're either deliberately searching up kind of workers in their area, or they've curated their social feeds like Twitter, Instagram, YouTube to have these sorts of videos pop up on their feed. And they have to find my contact information, which means searching through 4 or 5 different types of links to get to the one that they need. They then need to save up to pay me. I now charge 700 Australian dollars an hour. That's some people's entire wage for a week after taxes. So it's not like an easy feat. They've then got to contact me, send photo ID, send screening information, arrange a time, send me a deposit, then get here. It's not something that just happens overnight. And this is true for the majority of workers. Most of us require different types of screening and protocols. You have to go out of your way to kind of find us and see us. Ultimately, he was the one who made the decision to cheat on his partner. And if it wasn't with me, it would have been with someone else. Like I said, I didn't have a gun to his head. We need to stop blaming women for men's actions. He decided that. He was the one that made the promise to his wife, and he decided to break that promise. I'm not advocating for people to cheat on their partners. In fact, when clients come to me and say, look, I've started dating someone, it's starting to get serious, should I keep seeing you? I say, hell no. Even though that would cost me money, that is not a good business decision. But I do it anyway because that's the morally right thing to do. I tell them no. And look, if you need something a little bit more than what your partner can give, you need to have that conversation with your partner. And I tell my clients this all the time. You can't be monogamous, or maybe your partner just isn't into what you're into and you need something else. You both need to come to that decision consensually and fully informed. And I highly encourage my clients to do this. And guess what? Somehow they have both decided that maybe it would be a good thing for their husband to go see someone on the side. It means they can continue the relationship and having what's important, the emotions, the support, the life partner that they need. But it means that their husband can go and get what he wants in a safe way. He's not going to fall in love. He's likely not going to get sick because we as workers use protection. He's not going to get someone pregnant. And it's all consensual, informed. So no, I don't feel guilty when my clients choose to cheat on their wives and use me as the other woman, because it was never my responsibility. What do you think? Do you think that it's my fault that a man chooses to cheat on his wife? Or let me know in the comments below.